It's the 4th of July, and I'm feeling the spirit of 76. 1776, that is. In honor of our great nation, I'm going to talk about one of the great people who helped forge it. There's a lot of interesting characters to talk about in American history. You can go all the way back to the Founding Fathers. There's Alexander Hamilton, there's Benjamin Franklin, the man who discovered the French fry, and then, of course, George Washington.
He was #1!
After that, you've got the hit reel of presidents. You've got Thomas Jefferson, you've got Abraham Lincoln, professional wrestler, you've got Jimmy Carter, peanut farmer. Each piece of American history and accomplishment building upon the last. A real history of real people with real achievements. That's boring. I want to get frisky and talk about America's great fictional presidents. There might be some cool presidents out there, like the one from Independence Day in The West Wing, but we're not talking about those. We're gonna get hardcore. Lex Luthor, Starscream, Richard Nixon.
Nixon's back!
Sometimes adding a supervillain to the executive branch truly is the will of the people. Look, I love democracy, and I love this republic, which is why we're rolling back to the 1800s with a president that oversaw a nation-shattering event. As documented in the historical text, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Steel Ball Run, we're going to focus on the 23rd president of these United States. President Funny Valentine. This presidential effigy was brought to us by Medico's Entertainment and was released as a Super Action Statue Wonderfest exclusive back in 2018. This figure is primarily a pearlescent white with some flourishes of color on the accents. This outfit is essentially a very, very exaggerated form of morning suit, which was the formal wear of the United States president in the late 19th century all the way up into the late 20th century. This white suit is then accented by a baby blue ruffled shirt with exposed collar and cuffs. Typically speaking, this type of shirt would be paired with a jabot, a cravat, or a necktie. However, Valentine lacks those. Valentine's outfit is very basic, however, its simplicity leads it to being both chic and streamlined. Unfortunately for me, the pearl white is my least favorite look for Valentine, as the white in conjunction with his blonde hair just kind of leads to a visual blur of light colors. Mangaka Hirohiko Araki plays pretty fast and loose with colorization. When he's drawing or painting, he will pick colors based off of the mood, the emotion they're trying to evoke, or what colors complement his overall artistic vision. And as such, character color schemes will change. So Valentine has been depicted as white, as blue, as orange with green accents, and my favorite, purple and pink, which is bold and striking. It seems as though Medico's was planning a colorway based off of this deco. However, it's been blocked by executive privilege or is locked in a Senate subcommittee. I don't know, it's just been banished to the Shadow Realm and we haven't seen it for years. Valentine includes 2 portrait sculpts, a basic stoic, as well as a brow-furrowed yelling face. On both head sculpts, you get to see President Valentine's luscious blonde curls, and it's a very odd hairstyle. It's possibly in reference to Junji Ito's Medusa, but at least in my opinion, it evokes a lot of the spiral and round patterns that you see in Art Nouveau. He is supposed to include 1 more head sculpt, and despite this being the Wonderfest exclusive figure, I was not lucky enough to get that Wonderfest exclusive bonus. Valentine is not secretly an old man, he just got in a fight so bad that it exponentially aged him and gave him an old man monster face, just like Emperor Palpatine. As a prestige action figure from Japan, he has a bevy of alternate hands, including these gesticulating hands for his election sweep, some flat hands for the presidential goosing, some fists for a presidential fist fight, and of course a trigger finger hand, as he does practice his Second Amendment rights. Before becoming president, Valentine was a Union soldier, serving in both the American Civil War and the Indian Wars, and as such he comes with a Navy Colt revolver, a very well-sculpted gun, and a very iconic piece of American history. He comes with a bit of an odd effect for the gun, as there is a large bulbous muzzle flash, as well as an orange line representing the bullet. It looks good in some poses and some angles, but not others. Despite his effete and slender frame, Valentine is very posable, though it can be very hard to get him balanced. Much like Risotto Nero, he has very, very large coattails that throw him off. If there's anything this figure should have included, it's an American flag, as Valentine is a true patriot and will literally wave the flag around during his fights. And what does he fight with? He fights with dirty deeds done dirt cheap. Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, or D4C for short, is a very striking and imposing figure with a unique silhouette that stands out when compared to any of the other JoJo stands. Dirty Deeds towers over the other figures in the line and is immediately an eye-catching presence with his Robin's Egg Blue and bright bubblegum pink color combination. The most notable thing about D4C's silhouette are the large bunny ears, and the figure actually includes modular options with these curved ears as well as the straight ears. While I prefer the curved ears shown previously, I can't deny that the straight vertical ears remind me a lot of Cyclonus from the Transformers, which is one of my absolute favorite designs from the 1986 movie. While I have no proof of this, I suspect that D4C's odd appearance may be inspired by the Robert Palmer album Maybe It's Live. The cover features a very odd sculpture that has a very similar silhouette. The cover features a 1970s bronze sculpture by the German surrealist artist Paul Wunderlich, which was inspired by Art Nouveau and Art Deco and is a reinterpretation of the classical Minotaur. Obviously D4C is more Lepus than Minotaur, but the silhouette is similar enough that it's too odd of a coincidence. However, the modularity doesn't stop there. In addition to the swappable ears, you also have multiple portrait sculpts. You have this one, which has 4 pink horizontal lines, as well as one that has 3 pink horizontal lines. There are some subtle differences in the sculpt, however, we're really digging into the minutiae of Araki's design here. And going even farther, he has swappable backs for some reason. He has one with this double cross design, as well as one that is completely flat and featureless. I honestly have no idea why they included a swappable back, as the details are so minute, it just doesn't matter. D4C does include swappable hands, including these karate chopping hands, as well as these chokehold hands, because, well, too many people are getting too close to the president, and D4C is there to prevent it. He also has fists and gesticulating hands, so a pretty standard array of accessories. However, he does include one more hand and one more head option, and these were Wonderfest exclusives I was lucky enough to get. At the end of Steel Ball Run, President Valentine has a final showdown with our protagonists Johnny Joestar and Gyro Zeppeli. In a last-ditch effort to stop the president, Gyro uses a special technique and attack called Ball Breaker, which affects space-time. D4C takes the brunt of this attack, and it results in this half-desiccated and destroyed appearance. Now, the damage D4C takes in the manga is much more extensive than what you can see here. However, the optional parts do replicate it fairly well, with the horrific little grabby claw and this half-skeletal face. This head sculpt is really great because you get to see this silver-painted, skull-like mechanical assembly underneath with an open orbital. Stands are supposed to be spiritual energy, so I don't know why it's mechanical, but it just looks too cool and too interesting. More of a note than a criticism is that the Wonderfest exclusive D4C parts are actually incongruous with the Wonderfest exclusive Funny Valentine head, as the Valentine head depicts him fully affected by Ball Breaker, whereas this is just half. D4C actually has a completely different appearance when fully affected by Ball Breaker, with a large fringed collar and a fully mechanical face. So JoJo lives and dies on music references, allusions, and parallels. The very peculiar name Funny Valentine is derived from the song My Funny Valentine, a musical number from the adaptation of Babes in Arms. Despite originally coming from a musical, this song would become a very sardonic jazz standard, covered by everybody from Frank Sinatra to Chet Baker and even Nat King Cole. I think this song was chosen by Araki because President Valentine was not always an Adonis of a man. In his early appearances, Araki drew him as a stout, portly, crazy-haired short man. We're going full DeVito territory here.
You guys all think I'm a hero, and I'll accept that responsibility.
I think Araki chose this for both comedic effect and to differentiate him from the other villains. However, the farther in the series he went, the more he realized he needed a man of action. And that is where Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap comes in. So Araki has said in interviews that he is partially inspired to redesign Valentine by watching the Roland Emmerich classic Independence Day. And that is not a joke.
We're going to survive. Today, we celebrate our Independence Day.
Yes, President Lone Star here is what inspired Araki to change Valentine from the master manipulator and puppet master of the Steel Ball Run to the much more hands-on, confrontational adversary we see later on in the series. And Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap truly is the culmination of this idea and shift in tone, as the AC/DC track is all about an unsavory and unscrupulous man who is willing to do anything for profit and gain. And unscrupulous is one of the key words to describe Valentine's character, as he is highly motivated by patriotism and a sense of nationalism to achieve his political goals. Valentine is the 23rd President of the United States, taking the place of the historical Benjamin Harrison, and he is the mastermind behind the eponymous Steel Ball Run race, a massive national event that attracts racers and sportsmen from all across the world. This race goes from San Diego, California to New York City and is meant to show the indomitable spirit of American exceptionalism, with a massive, massive cash prize at the end. Valentine is both a charismatic leader and a populist leader, with the Steel Ball Run race having many ulterior motives. One of them is to be the spectacle entertainment for the masses, bread and circuses, if you will. This is to keep the American public entertained and fixated on a patriotic and jingoistic attitude. Valentine's fixation on patriotism and American exceptionalism started at an early age, as his biological father fought in the Indian Wars. He was captured and tortured by the Native Americans to give them information on Union troop movements. However, his love of his country and his son prevented him from speaking. Funny was told all of this by his father's friend and soon-to-be stepfather, Captain Valentine. This perseverance and indomitable will is what inspired Valentine to pursue a career in both the US military and politics. Foremost, Valentine is an American exceptionalist with an inexhaustible determination to make the United States a global superpower. This superpower status not only extends to America leading the rest of the world, but also having complete authority over the world. However, Valentine's motivations are not just limited to the political, they are also influenced by divinity. At an indeterminate point in the past, Valentine and a troop of Union soldiers became lost in the deserts of the American Southwest. As each of the soldiers began dying, Valentine was left as the last man standing. His only salvation was finding an artifact called the Saint's Heart, which is heavily implied to be the mummified heart of Jesus Christ. It's a very bizarre adventure, there is no getting around that. Not only did the Saint's Heart give him the ability to persevere through the harsh desert conditions, but it also awakened his stand. A stand being a manifestation of one's fighting strength, their id, their ego, etc. Not only is D4C physically strong with an intense physical presence, but it also has a massively destructive power that allows it to tamper with the laws of time and space. Dirty Deeds allows Valentine to cross into parallel dimensions. And not only can he enter these dimensions, but he can take objects, ideas, and even individuals with him. This can be extremely dangerous, as two items or individuals cannot be at the same place or same time. If they were to meet, they would destroy each other completely on a molecular level. Valentine himself is the only one immune to this, as he can call other parallel Valentines to his aid or to replace him if he dies in combat. Throughout the multiverse, every single Valentine is motivated by American exceptionalism and a perverse patriotism. This makes President Valentine one of the most dangerous characters in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Not necessarily because of his physical prowess, not because of his skills in combat, but because of his ideals. His ideals are unyielding. They are unending. They will continue with or without him. And this does draw into question a lot of his motivation. If his ideals towards American exceptionalism truly are because he loves the United States of America, or because he is an egotistical figurehead. It's this quality that makes Funny Valentine one of, if not the best antagonists in the entirety of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. If you compare him to another big bad from the series, Dio, you can see how starkly juxtaposed they are. Dio is evil for the sake of evil. He revels in misery and bloodshed. Valentine, however, is the worst kind of villain, the type that doesn't even realize that he is evil. And that is what makes him such a visceral presence when opposed to Johnny Joestar and Gyro Zeppeli. But I mean, that all kind of frames him in a bad light. Look, Valentine might be on his American Carnage re-election campaign, but, you know, he's fun and charismatic. He's all about the good times. I mean, looking back historically, I think he was the best president around. And you say, what about the people he murdered? And I say, what murders? You can't prove that. You weren't there. Look, there's a lot of fictional presidents out there. Some of them are cool, some of them not so cool. Valentine truly is one of the best, though. He is an exceptional example of what happens when a supervillain gets way too much power.